Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jack Sullivan, a partner here at Dorsey & Whitney and the president of the Minnesota Justice Foundation Board of Directors. On behalf of the board and the staff of MJF, I'd like to thank you all for joining us at our first, and hopefully our only, virtual annual awards celebration. Before we begin, I wanted to extend a warm welcome and thank you to our keynote speaker, Mr. Ivan Fong. Mr. Fong is the Senior Vice President, General Counsel, and Secretary of 3M. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Fong, and we look forward to hearing your remarks later today. The Minnesota Justice Foundation was founded in 1982 when a group of local law students created an organization that aimed to connect law students who were looking to volunteer with lawyers serving low-income clients who needed help. Since then, MJF volunteers have filled more than 25,000 volunteer placements and provided more than 700,000 hours of service to 250,000 clients. The focus of MJF's work is on capacity building. Through our law school public service program, we connect public interest law offices with law student volunteers from each of the 3 Minnesota law schools who, throughout the year, help those agencies reach more clients. We also administer a summer fellowship program through which MJF provides stipends to students who work full-time at public interest law offices. You can find a list of the summer 2020 fellows and the agencies where they worked in the program book that is being circulated to you through the chat function of the Zoom event here. Also in that program book is a list of the donors who are supporting us tonight. MJF's programming has many impacts. First, it helps increase access to justice because programs are able to do more with the help of law student volunteers. Second, law students who are volunteering through MJF and who are serving in summer fellowships gain practical experience while also developing an ethic of pro bono service that they carry forward in their careers. We are very proud to find former MJF volunteers and fellows leading in both the private bar and in the public interest sector around the country. Before we go further, since we're not able to have a happy hour tonight, we are going to turn the event over to Bryce Caldwell, who is a mixologist at the Hi restaurant and will be sharing with us a cocktail/mocktail recipe for us all to enjoy as we are in our respective safe locations. Bryce?
Hello and welcome to the MJF annual event. My name is Bryce Caldwell and I'm here to help you get a beverage, get a drink going. I'm so excited to share some of my knowledge and be a part of this event because what you all do is truly incredible. So thank you so much. I'm honored and we'll get things started. I have a few of my ingredients already kind of prepared ahead of time just to make sure for timing purposes. If you're scrambling right now, you're missing a few things, don't worry. You can feel free to just take some notes and follow along that way and go about that way. If this doesn't interest you and you just want to crack a beer or drink some wine or pour some scotch, feel free to do that as well. But really hoping that a lot of you will be learning something new today and having a tasty beverage. So the first drink we're going to make is a classic daiquiri. When I was first asked about this beverage or making it, I always thought of it as you pull a lever from a machine and it tastes like strawberry, but it turns out that's far from the truth, and it's a very classic, simple, and easy traditional cocktail that I think is a great starting point for anyone to learn about. It kind of is based off of this golden ratio where you have 2 parts of spirit, 1 part of sour, and 1 part of sweet. Now, purists could argue that that's maybe not exactly the way, but I think for educational purposes and for remembering different ratios and numbers, the 2-1-1 ratio is just perfect. Then you can play along with that to your tastes if you prefer. So the daiquiri is going to contain rum. Not everyone loves rum, and if you wanted to substitute for perhaps a vodka, a gin, or a tequila, you could do that as well. I'm going to be showing you how to do it with rum. If you do substitute for another spirit, it would be known as a gimlet. So we're going to get started. I have several of my ingredients here. I am going to juice some limes here because the fresher they are, the better. So I just have a little citrus juicer here. You can hand squeeze, you could use a power juicer if you're fancy, but I'm just going to fill this up a little bit. For this first drink, for the daiquiri, we're looking for 1 ounce. So usually 1 lime should get you there. I'm gonna squeeze a few more just to make sure that I have some extra. For a shaker, if you have something like this, perfect, that's great. Sometimes there's Boston shakers with lids and strainers on top of them. If you don't have anything like that, even a protein shaker, get away with that. Those work quite nicely. Or if you just have like a pint glass and you stir it vigorously, that can work too. The main goal of shaking is that not only you're diluting the ice, but you're introducing air and aerating that cocktail. So first things first, I'm gonna grab my rum. If you are using a different spirit, go ahead and follow along using the spirit of your choice. For measuring, I've got a jigger here. 2 ounces is a 1/4 cup, so you can feel free to use that. Or if you are making 2 of something, you can double all of these measurements to make 2. But I'm gonna start with 2 ounces of rum. This is one of my favorite rums right now. It's derived from sugarcane juice as opposed to molasses, so it's got a little bit different flavor, but it's something that I'm really into right now. So we've got 2 ounces into the shaker, followed by 1 ounce of that fresh lime juice. And then simple syrup, equal parts sugar and water. Ideally this will be cool or cold when you are using it, pouring it in your cocktail, because that can affect the lime juice in a way you may not care for. So I've got all of those things. Those are all the things that are gonna be, all the ingredients that are gonna be in the daiquiri. We're gonna add some ice, but you can just make sure, like, did I forget anything? Did I do all those things before you start adding ice? Because once you do that, it's gonna be diluting it. And your drink is underway. So I'm going to grab kind of 2 half handfuls or 1 full handful. Put this on. Get it nice and tight on there so it doesn't come flying apart and your drink's going everywhere, because that's not good. No one wants that. I'm going to give it a nice shake. It's fizzing. You can hear the air has definitely been incorporated into the drink. It's getting cold to the touch. That's when you know you're really getting that stirred up. I'm gonna strain this into a coupe style glass with no ice. For a simple garnish, I've just cut a little lime wheel here. It's nice for a visual and for the aroma, but the coupe style glass really allows you to get your nose to it. And just with those 3 ingredients, you can see what each part is doing. You can smell that, you can definitely take a taste. Yep, that's very tasty. And go from there. So there we have the classic daiquiri. Or if you used a vodka, gin, or tequila, a gimlet of those varieties. So I'll put this one to the side, and we'll begin our second drink. Now that we've made that daiquiri, the second drink is gonna be just a little continuation of that. I'm gonna show you the cocktail, and I did kind of a variation of this for a cocktail competition, and was a finalist for that. So It was a crowd pleaser. People really liked it, and it's a really super fun way to do kind of an easy at home pina colada. So for that, I'm gonna rinse this out. Start with some fresh shaker and fresh tools. And we are going to start with the daiquiri build and continue on from there to get our pina colada build. The first step, adding the spirit. If you are making the mocktail, no alcohol, you are going to skip this step. So for those mocktail makers and drinkers out there, do not add any sort of spirit. If you wanted to substitute perhaps a vodka for this one, I think that could work well as well if you really love vodka or if you really don't like rum. But I would suggest using rum for this one to kind of really give it that traditional pina colada kind of flavor. So we're gonna go back to the rum here. We're gonna start with that 2-1-1 ratio that we did with the daiquiri. So we're gonna essentially build exactly what we did before and go on from there. So you all should be pros at this by now. So 2 ounces of the spirit, 1 ounce of fresh lime juice, 1 ounce of simple syrup, and that is exactly what we did before. We've got the daiquiri in the tin right now, in your shaker, in your stir glass, whatever you might be using. Now we're gonna go on from there and add 1 ounce of coconut milk. There are some like coconut milk beverages and things out there. Please try and those are good, but just regular coconut milk works really great. You could use cream or milk, or I guess those other coconut milk substitutes, but just regular coconut milk I found works really well. And then we're gonna add 1 ounce of pineapple juice. We're gonna grab our ice. Everything's in there, and this is starting the drink process. Have a little fun if you're giving it a little shake. It's a fun thing. You make sure those lids are tight and go for it. Starting to get cold to the touch. I can hear it fizzling in there. The air has been introduced to the drink. I'm again going to strain this off. I'm gonna go into a larger, kind of, I guess this would be a stemless wine glass here, a low ball, or just a larger glass, and I'm gonna pour over fresh ice for this one. Now this one I like to have a lot of fun with garnishing. We'll throw a little bit of Angostura bitters, just a little aromatic touch on the nose, cut a little bit of the sweetness down a little bit. Not that it's overly sweet, but just give a little bit of color there. 2 dashes, 1 to 2, and this is an optional thing. If you've just got what we did before, it's a great cocktail on its own. But I like to add a little bit of that. You can add a little ground nutmeg. And I've got a few other garnish options from just the ingredients that I was already using before. So we'll do a little bit of a half pineapple wheel. We'll do some pineapple fronds behind there. And let's see, we've got another lime wheel here. Might as well throw that in there. And why not a little drink umbrella? Oh yeah, I've got my fancy cherries out too. We'll just get that incorporated as well. Do 1 cherry for a good measure. And I've got a nice little golden reusable straw there. And the drink that I submitted for the cocktail competition, I called it the Panda Paw. Otherwise, it's an easy at-home pina colada. You don't need a blender or anything. go ahead and give that a try. And wow, that is fantastic. So there you have it. Without the alcohol, it's a great mocktail. I make that a lot. I'm over at Hi in Northeast Minneapolis, and we have kiddos coming in all the time wanting to really nice, cool, fancy drink that's suitable for them. So I'll make that one a lot. I've had a couple questions that were asked to me. One was, what is my favorite drink to make? I think that's kind of a loaded question if you're trying to find a good drink for yourself. I don't know if that's the best question to find. I would turn the question on the guest and ask, what do you normally like to drink? And those are some of the favorite drinks I like to make, where you might give me a flavor profile or a spirit and go from there. Some of my favorite cocktails to make for myself to then enjoy would be anything in the Daisy family, which a margarita falls in that category. A Jungle Bird is a really fun one where it kind of uses the daiquiri as its base and goes from there. So those are some fun ones to look up on your own. I was asked about some distilleries that I like to enjoy. Really like Tattersall, I love the cocktail room there. They have a lot of really great spirits. And lately, with the way the world's been, they have some pre-made cocktails. They have a pre-made old fashioned that's just super easy. You can take that home and just pour that over ice. That's really good. Be on the lookout for some updates from Scalvin Distillery. They're a really great one that's kind of up and coming. Really enjoy that. For breweries, Indeed, really just like their overall thing they have going on. They make a beer specifically for us at Hi, and I really enjoy the beer. As far as outdoor space, Wild Minds in South Minneapolis is another brewery that I really do enjoy. But we'll make sure that you get my information. I'll welcome any questions to my email if you have more questions, looking for more tips on cocktails, beverages, starting your own bar at home, things like that. So until next time, take care and cheers. Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome to the 2020 Minnesota Justice Foundation Annual Awards event. I'm Laurie McDonough, winner of the 2008 Distinguished Service Award. I will play some jazz for you as you get ready for the event. I will play We Shall Overcome in dedication to John Lewis.
That we shall overcome someday. shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday.
Hope you enjoy the event tonight. Thanks for attending.
Thank you very much, Larry, for sharing your talent and your music with us. Thank you to Bryce for sharing your recipes and your experience. And thank you to everyone viewing for joining us tonight at the first virtual annual awards celebration for the Minnesota Justice Foundation. Quite a few people have joined us since I was last speaking, so I would like to once again introduce myself. My name is Jack Sullivan. I am the current president of the board of directors of the Minnesota Justice Foundation. Tonight, we will be recognizing our Outstanding Service Award winners. The winners tonight come from a variety of practice areas, everything from insurance law to immigration and family law, housing work, and criminal defense. A theme that we'll hear tonight is their shared commitment to access to justice for all. First, we recognize 6 individuals, practitioners, and other professionals for outstanding service. Given the limits of our virtual venue, I will give a brief overview of their accomplishments before we share with you a video from each honoree. I invite you all to learn more about each of the honorees by reading their biographies and nominations in the program book that has been circulated to you through the chat function of this Zoom meeting. Our first award tonight is the Advocate Award, which is presented to an advocate, non-practicing attorney, a member of a support staff, or a pro bono coordinator whose contributions are deemed to be outstanding. We are pleased tonight to present the Advocate Award to Sothea Poch of Southern Minnesota Regional Legal Services. Mr. Poch began work with Smurls soon after graduating from Augsburg College in 1990. A few years after he finished college, he was awarded the prestigious Bush Fellowship and enrolled at Hamlin Law School, where he became the first Cambodian to graduate from a Minnesota law school. Under the leadership of veteran Smurls immigration attorneys, Mr. Poch, who is fluent in the native language of Cambodia, helped hundreds of new Cambodian refugees resettle in the United States. He did so by working to reunify long-lost family members through an initiative at Smurls that sent him back to his homeland of Cambodia, where he collected DNA samples from persons who were eager to join their loved ones in the United States. In the 3 decades that Mr. Poch has worked with the Refugee and Immigration Unit at Smurls, he has represented and zealously advocated on behalf of indigent clients in immigration court, helped thousands of low-income clients get their green cards in order to work and to become U.S. citizens. His exceptional legal and social work go beyond Smurls, as he is a key advocate and leader in Minnesota's Cambodian community. After 30 years of work, Mr. Poch's passion and commitment to help others are unwavering and, according to his nominators, a source of inspiration for his colleagues. His reason to get up every day to come to work is simple, he says. Clients are the reason Smurls exists. Please join me in congratulating Sothea Poch.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank you all for taking the time this afternoon to join in the MJF 2020 annual award celebrations. I'd like to say that I'm truly honored to be recognized for this Outstanding Service Award. I'd like to thank you, the selection committee and the foundation, for my recognition. This is one of the true encouragements that will propel and prolong my commitment to continue my work. I appreciate the recognition and the award because I never envisioned myself to have either the opportunity or the ability to contribute to society, let alone to give an acceptance speech for any award. As you already may know, that I was born and raised in the remote countryside in Cambodia. I had lived through the killing field and get out of refugee camp with no formal education, so I had nothing to offer but hope, determination, and persistence, humility. My dream at the refugee camp was that someday I can help other people who in the same situation I was, and my dream would not have been realized if it had not been the assistance that I received from my supervisor, my colleague, and my mentor throughout my career. I want to say that I'm fortunate and honored to be a part of the important work that all of you have done and are doing every day. My contribution to the community would not have been possible without the help from you and others in the community. With that said, I would like to thank you, all the people that supporting me throughout my professional career. And again, thank you for the foundation and to all of you for recognizing me and my work. I truly appreciate it.
Our next award is the Direct Legal Service Award, which goes to an attorney who, as a paid staff person, has demonstrated leadership in the provision of legal services to low-income clients. We are pleased to present this award today to Erin Osborne of Central Minnesota Legal Services. Erin has been a staff attorney with the Minnesota office of CMLS since 2015. Today, she is the Program Director of Domestic Violence Litigation in partnership with the Hennepin County Domestic Abuse Service Center. Erin has a vision to see justice done for the clients she represents at CMLS. She has sought out leadership opportunities within the justice system and in the communities in which her clients live as she pursues her vision to see justice done. Erin is recognized for her skill at forging and maintaining strong relationships within the legal community and with community partners to improve access to justice. In her time at CMLS, Erin has had an impact on hundreds of clients through her legal advocacy, which has kept clients safe and in safe housing. She has had a direct role in having an impact on the family court system in Hennepin County, particularly in how it handles order for protection cases. Also, Erin has been instrumental in CMLS's partnership with the 4th Judicial District's Justice for Families project. She led a subcommittee charged with improving how survivors of domestic violence can have representation, advocacy, and information that allows them to access the relief that they and their children need from family court. Meanwhile, Erin has represented hundreds of clients during her work at CMLS and is a leader in the number of cases handled and number of full representation cases handled within the office. She also motivates and offers personal support to her coworkers as they pursue their own visions of justice and as they as a group work together to represent their clients. Erin takes extreme care with her work and makes creative arguments on behalf of her clients when warranted by the facts and law. And most importantly, she treats all clients with respect and builds positive working relationships throughout the system. Congratulations, Ms. Osborne.
Thank you to the Minnesota Justice Foundation. I was humbled when I looked at past recipients of this award and saw so many names who I admire and respect and who have shaped my own practice contained within it. I'd like to thank Jean Lestine, Christy Snowcaster, Lilo Schlender, Ryan Meyer, and Elizabeth Sauer. Legal aid work cannot be done in a vacuum, and I appreciate the support and encouragement that they've given me over the years to help me build my confidence in my practice. I'd like to thank my parents for teaching me not to be a sheep. This message of nonconformity guides my pursuit for equal justice. I'd also like to thank my husband, Chris, who always encourages me to keep going when the work feels too difficult. Working for a civil legal services organization is a privilege. Without civil legal services, there would be no justice system. It would be a legal system for those who could afford to buy in. At a time when we are facing an unprecedented risk of mass evictions, an increase in domestic violence, and mass unemployment, the need for civil legal services could not be more clear. The challenges that the communities we serve are facing during this pandemic are life-threatening. When this work feels overwhelming or insurmountable, I often turn to the words of activist and prison abolitionist Mariame Kaba, who says, "Let this radicalize you rather than lead you to despair." We can meet the challenges facing our community, and we will. Thank you.
We now recognize the extraordinary service of a private practice lawyer who provides exceptional pro bono service on top of a demanding private practice. Tonight, we are pleased to recognize Richard Allyn of Robbins Kaplan. Dick Allyn co-founded the Insurance Law Clinic at the University of Minnesota Law School and has been an adjunct professor in the clinic since its inception in 2013. The clinic is believed to be the only law school clinic in the United States that is dedicated to representing consumers in disputes with insurance companies. In its work, the clinic fills a vital role in providing free legal services to persons who are facing profound loss often and who often feel powerless and do not have the financial resources or the ability to pursue claims against their insurance companies. Mr. Allyn attends every weekly meeting of the clinic, supervises up to 12 students a year, and oversees between 10 and 20 client matters at a time. These cases can range from routine auto coverage disputes to complex appeals of coverage denials and full-scale litigation with insurers where the stakes can range from thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars. In addition to increasing legal service to a vastly underserved population, the clinic trains law students, and Dick has served as a mentor to numerous students who have passed through the clinic. A former student, Hannah Payne, wrote to MJF the following: "Dick truly wants to help everyone, especially those with the least resources. He listens closely and models how to be a thoughtful, respectful practitioner. He gives expert legal advice and guidance and helps students learn so much through hands-on practice. He enthusiastically digs into any new subject and manages to stay tuned to everything on the clinic's large caseload. I know the clinic is only one part of Dick's work and that he is engaged throughout the community in many other ways. Still, he always shows up with unfailing energy and a great attitude. Simply put, he's an excellent attorney, mentor, and leader. Please join me in congratulating Dick Allyn."
Minnesota Justice Foundation has been serving low-income and disadvantaged people for so many years through the work of all these law students and volunteer lawyers that work with the students. And you know, it's a wonderful honor to be here today, but it's truly humbling. The Insurance Law Clinic at the University of Minnesota Law School is my primary pro bono project. It was founded back in 2012-13 by Michael Brownell, who has been the inspiration for this project. And what it is a clinic that serves low-income and disadvantaged people, minority people, people that can't speak English, old people, people who are not able to cope with insurance adjusters and agents and the like. This clinic has achieved some wonderful results, and it's carried out entirely by law students and student directors. I want to thank the many people that have made this clinic, we understand to be the only insurance law clinic in a law school in America, such a success. The law school staff, Nicole Smiley couldn't we couldn't function without Nicole and Gene Sanderson and Laura Thomas, now Judge Gene Wells. The whole staff there and the clinic office have been just wonderfully supportive. My co-teachers now, Brian Freeman and Peter Dooley, are absolutely important to the success of this group. Finally, a huge thanks to Robbins Kaplan LLP for its long-standing support of pro bono efforts and encouraging the lawyers there to participate. MJF, thank you for this honor. I'm here because of the work of so many other people. Thank you.
I will now turn it over to Anna Beadle, who is the Executive Director of MJF, to present awards to local law students. Anna?
Thank you, Jack. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining us today to celebrate our award winners. Please let me offer a special thank you to all of our sponsors. I'd like to take a moment first to highlight our gold and silver level sponsors. Our gold level sponsors for this event are Ballard Spar, Dorsey and Whitney, Robbins Kaplan, and Stinson. Our silver level sponsors are Collins, Buckley, Santry, and Hogg, Fellhaber Larson, Maslin, and Taft, Stettinius, and Hollister. Thank you so much for your support this year. We've been truly wowed by the support we've received this year for our first virtual event. Our final 3 awards that I'll be presenting tonight are for outstanding service by a law student, presented to students who have demonstrated a deep and diverse commitment to public service. We present 1 award to a student from each local law school. Our first Law Student Award winner is Dylan O'Brien of Mitchell-Hamlin School of Law. Dylan has been working with Wright County Public Defender's Office since his 1L year and is now a 3L. At the beginning of the pandemic, when the office moved to virtual hearings, he actively sought out ways to serve clients and added all the software to his computer to begin appearing virtually within 2 weeks of the court shutdown. In the words of Mr. O'Brien's nominator, one of his supervising attorneys at the office, quote, "He is very well respected by our agency, the court, and the state. His ability to empathize and advocate for our clients is well understood. He makes an incredible effort to challenge himself within our agency and is the first student clerk in years to volunteer to add juvenile court to his practice to better understand the whole of the public defender system. I know every attorney within our agency hopes and supports him should he choose public defense as a career. I have supervised law clerks for 12 years, and he is one of the most committed to public service I have had the pleasure of working with," end quote. We celebrate Dylan's commitment to public defense. Congratulations to Dylan.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to thank the Minnesota Justice Foundation for recognizing my work. This award is incredibly meaningful for me to receive as a third-year law student, and I genuinely appreciate it. In receiving this award, I'd next like to say how grateful I am to everyone I work with at the Wright County Public Defender's Office. At this point in my career, I'd feel lucky to even have a single mentor, but instead my good fortune has granted me an entire office of mentors. As such, I'd like to thank you all individually. First, I'd like to thank Jenny Chaplinsky for being a great supervisor and for nominating me for this award. I'd also like to thank Kevin Tierney, Eric Schmidtke, Yolanta Howard, Richard Herms, Allison Mahowage, Tom Price, Greg Davis, Sam Murdoff, Kathy Gabriel, Sandy Tower, Mary Weston, Erin Hunter, Chrissy Pankratz, Carol Lostetter, Virginia Murphy, Tim Trock, and last but not least, Austin Saray, my fellow law clerk, who I spend so much time working alongside. It's an honor to be given the opportunity to do this work, and I'm humbled to be working with such a dedicated group of people. Finally, I'd like to thank my clients, so many of whom have shown profound courage in facing almost insurmountable obstacles, and have acted with hope, dignity, and humanity in even the most challenging situations. A hearty thank you to you all.
Our second Law Student Award winner is Marisa Tillman of the University of Minnesota Law School. Marisa has a strong history of commitment to public interest law. Prior to law school, she worked as a legal assistant with Lutheran Volunteer Corps through World Relief Immigration Clinic. As a dual degree law and public policy student, she's volunteered since her first semester. At that time, in the fall of 2017, community organizations were offering a number of DACA renewal clinics and Central American Minor Refugee Program clinics, which she was able to assist with. She went on that year to volunteer with Asylum Law Project in Washington, D.C. Marisa was also a certified student attorney with the Binger Center for New Americans Detainee Rights Clinic. She's also worked at Standpoint, a nonprofit that supports and provides legal services to survivors of domestic and sexual violence. She worked there first as a volunteer during her 1L year, and most recently this summer, she was an MJF summer fellow there. This summer, she worked with a staff immigration attorney at Standpoint, providing legal services for immigrant survivors of domestic and sexual violence. So today we celebrate Marisa's dedication to immigration law, as well as her engagement in and leadership of the MJF student chapter at the University of Minnesota Law School during her time here at the University of Minnesota. Congratulations, Marisa.
Good evening. My name is Marisa Tillman, and I am the University of Minnesota Law School recipient for the MJF Outstanding Service Award for Law Student Volunteers. I am so honored to be receiving this award, and I could not have done it without my family and friends. I grew up in a family and in a community that truly valued service and volunteering. My mother took me to my first shelter for survivors of domestic and sexual violence when I was 13, where I taught a dance that I had learned at dance class to the teens that were living there, while my mother provided social services to the women there. I remember feeling this feeling that everything seemed unfair. I didn't understand why they had to be there, and I held on to that. It was the first time that I truly understood my privilege, especially as a white kid living in the Philippines, where I grew up. I pursued then a career of service, although I did not yet really know what that might be. After college, I volunteered with the Lutheran Volunteer Corps and worked at the World Relief Baltimore Immigration Legal Clinic, where I helped and served immigrant families. Since then, I've known that immigration law and policy was my calling and something that I've really poured my heart and soul into as I've been a law student. I'm honored to be working with immigrant survivors of sexual and domestic violence at Standpoint as an MJF Summer Fellow, which comes full circle from my time teaching dance classes at the shelter. My passion for immigration law and policy predates law school, but it was through the opportunities provided to me by the Minnesota Justice Foundation and the University of Minnesota Law School that really allowed me to practice my passions. Ultimately, I want to thank my mom and dad and my siblings for instilling in me a value of volunteering and serving the people in my community. I also want to thank my partner, who has been patient with me and supported me even when the emotional stress of the work can get to be too much sometimes. I have to thank my University of Minnesota Law School community as well, my friends, my faculty, and my mentors. I wouldn't be here without you. And finally, I thank God for taking me on this journey, and I wish you all peace during this time.
Our final award goes to Katherine Boland at the University of St. Thomas School of Law. Katherine is committed to pursuing a career as a public defender. She has sought out opportunities to work in public defense throughout law school. She spent her 1L summer at the public defender's office in her hometown of Winona. As a second-year student, she worked as a certified student attorney at the Hennepin County Public Defender's Office in the Juvenile Division. Observing juvenile court, child protection, and termination of parental rights hearings significantly broadened her view of public defense. She went on to work at that office last summer and is currently working there as well. She's also been involved in the Criminal and Juvenile Defense Clinic at St. Thomas, both as a second and third-year student. As a 2L, she exceeded the minimum hours course requirement by nearly 100 hours, going far beyond what was required in order to provide excellent representation to a variety of clients. After the pandemic hit, Ms. Boland helped draft and then successfully litigated a motion seeking release of an incarcerated client who was at heightened risk of suffering from COVID-19 due to a previous health condition. We celebrate Katherine's dedication to public defense. Congratulations, Katherine.
I am extremely honored to be receiving such an important award. I am earnestly grateful for the recognition I have received for volunteering at the Winona County Public Defender's Office and in the Criminal and Juvenile Defense Clinic at St. Thomas. I'd like to thank the public defenders in Winona County, Mike Keene, Melina Chohan, Megan Elkin, Graham Henry, and Christine Ladeber. Working with them was the most immersive experience of my law school career. Arguing bail on behalf of the residents of my hometown confirmed my commitment to client-based criminal defense work. Lastly, I would like to thank Professor Rachel Moran for nominating me for this award. Professor Moran's expertise, dedication to her students, and integrity continues to inspire me. My success is due to your guidance and support. Thank you.
Congratulations again to Dylan, Marisa, and Katherine. And now, before we move on with our programming, this year we are recognizing, providing special recognition for a unique volunteer effort that was comprised of a group of law students from all 3 Minnesota law schools. These students, who were coordinated by the Reentry Clinic at Mitchell-Hamlin with support from faculty and other students at the University of Minnesota and the University of St. Thomas, helped secure conditional medical release for 150 people who were incarcerated during the pandemic. Prisons comprise five of the nation's top 10 hotspots for COVID. By design, social distancing does not work and medical care is substandard. The students' work gave hope and saved lives. Over 150 vulnerable individuals obtained release as a result of their efforts. Thank you to all the students who were involved in this effort. And you will find more information and the students' names on page 15 of the program book.
Thank you very much, Anna, and thank you and congratulations to all of tonight's honorees. I hope that our award winners' dedication serves as an inspiration to everyone joining us on this video tonight. All of us, whether we are in private practice, working in a public interest agency, or in public service, understand the need and know that there is a need for law students to contribute their efforts to support those lawyers who work serving the public interest. As I mentioned at the beginning of the event tonight, MJF's focus is on capacity building. We match law student volunteers with the public agencies that can use their efforts and who, with their efforts, are able to reach more clients who might otherwise not receive legal services. We also administer a summer fellowship program, which provides a stipend to law students for a summer during which they work full-time at a public interest agency and, again, help that agency reach more clients than they might otherwise. Last year alone, MJF volunteers filled more than 1,300 positions in which they served more than 8,300 clients. And that was before the pandemic, when 3 of every 5 potential legal aid clients were turned away for a lack of resources. Now, because of the pandemic, we're seeing an increase in domestic violence, rising unemployment, greater food insecurity, and, as one of our honorees mentioned, a looming threat to housing and a greater expectation of significant housing instability. In other words, there is a greater need for the work of MJF volunteers and fellows today than there may have ever been in the past. With the support of our sponsors and almost 100% participation of the board, we have already raised more than $64,000 through this event, which is enough to pay for 12 summer fellowships, placing law students at public service agencies next summer. I ask you tonight to please help us add to that number. please go to www.mnjustice.org/donate-to-MJF and click donate. You don't have to write that down. We've just sent the link through the chat. We aim tonight to raise $10,600, which would be enough for 2 additional fellowships serving low-income clients who might not otherwise receive representation next summer. We'd ask that you consider funding a week of a fellowship for $530, or perhaps a day of a fellowship for $106. But of course, we would be honored for any gift that is meaningful to you. So thank you all in advance. Now I would like to welcome the Honorable Michael Davis of the United States District Court for the District of Minnesota. Judge Davis is joining us tonight to introduce our keynote speaker, Ivan Fong. Your Honor.
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to be here. First, I would like to congratulate all the law students who have won awards this evening. It's a great honor for them, and it's a great honor for our community, for our state, and for the people that they serve. And I wish them well, and my door is always open to be a cheerleader for them. They should always get into good trouble. I'm honored to be here this afternoon to introduce the keynote speaker, Ivan Fong. The Minnesota Justice Foundation mission is to strive for justice by creating opportunities for law students to perform public interest and pro bono legal services. Ivan Fong embodies the mission and values of MJF throughout his legal career, both in the public and private sectors, in his role as Senior Vice President and General Counsel and Secretary of 3M, and as a member of our community. Ivan has given back and aided in the quest for equal justice under law. He has aptly noted that practicing law is a privilege and part of our responsibility to ensure access to justice is to give back to the community. I should insert here that I have known Ivan for a number of years, and I know that he does not like people to talk about all the things that he has done, but I have that privilege, and he will not overrule me this evening. Ivan is a graduate of MIT. His major was chemical engineering, and he was chairman of the board of student of the newspaper. He was Phi Beta Kappa. He went on to Stanford Law School, and he was president of the Stanford Law Review. He was a Fulbright scholar, and he received a degree from Oxford University. He is a registered patent attorney. Ivan began his legal career as law clerk with one of the most outstanding United States Court of Appeals judges for the for the DC Circuit, Abner Mipka. He clerked for Judge Mipka, and then he went on to clerk for Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor of the United States Supreme Court. After that, Ivan became a partner of the firm of Covington and Burling, and then he went on to serve as Deputy Associate Attorney General at the United States Department of Justice under Attorney General Janet Reno, under the Clinton administration. President Barack Obama nominated Ivan to be General Counsel of the Department of Homeland Security in May of 2009, and he was confirmed that month. And he served in that position until 2012. Minnesota was very fortunate in October of 2012 when Ivan joined the 3M. He is currently the Senior Vice President, General Counsel, and Secretary of 3M Company. He oversees all legal policy, compliance, and global security matters for the company. Ivan is not only a brilliant lawyer, but he's a talented general counsel and an innovative and successful Fortune 500 company. Ivan is also a leader in pro bono work. He has personal commitment to pro bono work, and he is a prime example to all of us. Ivan has, out of his duties from 3M, he has volunteered at the Children's Law Center, and that not only has donated his time there, but he has done other things in the pro bono work. I can tell you that Ivan worked closely with me, and I'll talk about that later when I was chief judge of the District of Minnesota. Ivan is a great person in dealing with 3M legal department's pro bono projects for their employees. He encourages and supports their pro bono efforts under his leadership. 3M recently sponsored a public interest fellow who spent 1 year working for Smurls and 1 year refreshing 3M's pro bono efforts. Last year, 3M sponsored an Equal Justice Works fellowship to enable a new lawyer to provide immigration services to those in need of assistance in North and South Dakota. In the past year, Ivan's international staff has dedicated thousands of hours to pro bono work. Ivan serves on the boards of Equal Justice Works and the Minnesota Public Radio. He has been named one of America's 50 outstanding general counsel, and I would name him in the top 5, if not the top 1. He's just outstanding. Ivan has received many awards, and I won't go into those. I just want to make a personal note to all of you. I've known Ivan for a number of years since he's come to Minnesota, and I've picked up the phone and I've called him when I was chief judge, and I said, I need your help dealing with community outreach for the District of Minnesota and for equal justice. And I can tell you that Ivan, without flinching, without saying no, volunteered and was an outstanding resource for the District of Minnesota and the Federal Bar Association. It is my honor to introduce my friend to you, Ivan Fong.
Great. Thank you very much, Judge Davis, for that very generous introduction and completely unnecessary. But yes, indeed, it's an honor to be introduced by you. And with that kind of introduction, I should just sit down and quit while I'm ahead. I'd like to take a moment to recognize and salute Judge Davis's lifelong commitment to and pursuit of equal justice and equal access to justice for all. His entire life and career have been a personal inspiration to me, and I wanted to let you know, Judge Davis, how much I truly appreciate your friendship and the warm hospitality that you extended to me years ago when my family and I first moved to the Twin Cities. Thank you very much, Judge Davis. I also want to extend my personal congratulations to the winners of this year's Outstanding Service Awards. Sothea Poch, Erin Osborne, Dick Allyn, and this year's law student awardees, Dylan O'Brien of the Mitchell-Hamlin School of Law, Marisa Tillman of the University of Minnesota Law School, and Katherine Boland of the University of St. Thomas School of Law. A special shout out to the work done in 2020 by the Mitchell Hamlin Reentry Clinic and the law students from all 3 Minnesota law schools on the Conditional Medical Release Project. I am so inspired by all of you and the amazing work you are doing, and I commend you for your true dedication to public interest work and to providing pro bono legal services to low-income and underrepresented Minnesotans and their families. I would also like to open my remarks with a request for you to join me for a moment of silence to remember and honor the life of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who passed away 12 days ago. I got to know Justice Ginsburg when she was a judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit, when I was a clerk on the same court for one of her friends and close colleagues, Judge Abner Mikva. Then and throughout her career, Justice Ginsburg was a true pioneer, a trailblazer for civil rights and equality. She was a scholar, a fighter, and a jurist without parallel. And she inspired generations of fighters, young and old, to continue in our pursuit of equal justice under law. Thank you. So here's the question I want to ask you tonight. What new things have you been doing during the pandemic? I remember when back in March of this year, we first started to work from home, or as I like to say, being at home during a crisis, trying to work. You know, we started hearing about people taking on new hobbies, things like baking sourdough bread, reading War and Peace, training to run a marathon, you know, those sorts of things. For me, it turned out I spent a lot of time stress eating and stress snacking. So a few weeks ago, I posed this question to a neighbor friend as we were walking to an outdoor pavilion for a takeout picnic. He replied with something I had not heard before. He said he was spending his time during quarantine memorizing poems. And he proceeded to recite a famous but certainly obscure to me poem. Wow, I thought to myself, that is an impressive hobby. Being an orator, maybe I should try it. So as we walked along the path after dinner back to our homes, I asked him, so what are you working on now? He said he was in the midst of memorizing a Shakespeare sonnet, number 22, it turns out. My glass shall not persuade me I am old, so long as youth and thou are of one date. Now that's about as far as I got, but it certainly felt good to exercise my brain in a new and different way. I then reminisced to my friend that when our children were young, we had them memorize 2 things, the Gettysburg Address and the preamble to the Constitution. And to make the preamble easier to memorize, we came up with our own mnemonic, you know, like Roy G. Biv. So ours is not a great mnemonic, but here it is nonetheless. It's FEIPS, F-E-I-P-P-S, FEIPS. Each letter is the first letter of each of the key phrases. So you ready? Here goes. We, the people of the United States, in order to, okay, so far that's the easy part. F, form a more perfect union. E, establish justice. I, ensure domestic tranquility. P, provide for the common defense. P, promote the general welfare. And S, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. So you got that? FEIPS, F-E-I-P-S. PPS, form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That's it. You've got it. I challenge you, during or after dinner tonight, practice it a few times. I guarantee you, you can use it to impress your friends and family. And that brings me to the topic of my remarks tonight, access to justice during a trifecta of crises. Because it's notable that the first purpose of the new government established by our Constitution, after the overarching to form a more perfect union, is to establish justice. It's significant because the founders knew fundamental to the legitimacy and authority of any government, especially one created in the name of we the people, is to establish justice. The other purposes of government are, of course, important and just as essential, but there's something special about that first one. Unfortunately, our current system of justice, both civil and criminal, fails low-income people and families in our country. As you probably know, most litigants in our justice system are unrepresented. A study by the National Center for State Courts found that in 76% of civil cases in our state courts, at least one party did not have a lawyer. And the Legal Services Corporation's recent Justice Gap study found that 86% of those needing civil legal assistance received no or inadequate legal assistance. Law students who are unfamiliar with how our system of justice actually works don't always appreciate that when you read the cases in our casebooks, most of the time you're reading decisions in cases where both parties are represented by able lawyers. And the consequences of this gap in our ability to fairly administer justice falls disproportionately on people and communities of color. And so if you layer onto that situation the current environment we're in, a persistent global pandemic that has claimed the lives of 1 million people around the world and over 200,000 people here in the United States alone, a debilitating economic recession that has caused massive unemployment and wiped out countless small businesses, and a national reckoning on racial equity and social justice, triggered by the brutal and horrific tragedy of George Floyd 4 months ago. You have the perfect storm. And speaking of storms, if you add the wildfires on the West Coast and other severe weather we are experiencing as a country, which some scientists attribute to climate change, it's not just a trifecta, but a quadfecta of crises. And it turns out there really is such a word. The ultimate consequence of this failure of the justice gap is that it risks causing people to lose faith in our system of justice. And that loss of faith in our ability to fairly administer justice is exacerbated by the pandemic and the economic adversity that it's leaving in its wake, as Jack and many of you receiving awards tonight have already mentioned. And so here's my key message tonight. Faith in our justice system is essential to the rule of law. If people don't think there's a level playing field or that they'll get a fair shake, either because they're poor or because they're a person of color, then we risk undermining one of the bedrock foundations of our democracy. The same rules should apply to both the powerful and the powerless. This is not a theoretical issue. As those of you who provide civil legal assistance, or those of us who do pro bono legal work know all too well, one person can make a difference in helping to restore faith in the fairness of our system of justice, one person at a time. We must also, in this time of COVID, accelerate technology innovations, build capacity, and engage in regulatory reform, all to jumpstart our efforts to close not just the justice gap, but what is really a justice chasm in our country. By rededicating ourselves to the mission of the Minnesota Justice Foundation, we can help push our society closer to fulfilling that promise of equal justice for all, to making it real. This is a moment of hope because collectively we have the opportunity to chart a new course toward a stronger democracy and a more perfect union. I'd like to close with what may seem like two unrelated thoughts. First, Sonnet 22 is actually about an older poet expressing his feelings of love to a younger friend. As you know by now, it starts, "My glass," that is, my mirror, "shall not persuade me I am old, so long as youth and thou are of one date, so long as you are young." The older poet goes on to declare that he and his friend have exchanged hearts, that his heart lives in the youth's chest as the youth's heart lives in his, which means that the younger friend must take care of his heart, for he is carrying the older poet's heart. And when the older poet's heart stops beating, then the youth should not take for granted that his own heart will be restored. So like the older poet speaking to a younger audience, my heart, my hope for a system of justice that engenders faith and trust and lives up to its promise, my heart is in yours. When I am gone, you should not take for granted that our system of justice will be restored. You must take care of it. You must take care of our democracy. Second, in remembrance of Justice Ginsburg, I want to close with two things she said that I find particularly meaningful now. She said she wanted to be remembered as someone who used whatever talent she had to do her work to the best of her ability, to help repair tears in our society, to make things a little better through the use of whatever ability she has. And she warned, the greatest menace to freedom is an inert people, that public discussion is a political duty, and that this should be a fundamental principle of American government. So with all the crises and challenges that we're now facing, it's good to have this little bit of clarity. It's not about how much money you make or having that fancy car or house. It's not about your title or having a lofty position. It's about doing what you are called to do to the best of your ability and to take your special gifts and make the world a better place. Do what you can to repair the world. Don't be inert, and take care of our democracy. Thank you all very much for inviting me here tonight. It's been an honor and a privilege to be with you. Congratulations again to all of our award recipients, and I'll now turn it back over to you, Jack.
Thank you very much, Ivan, for joining us tonight. Thank you for taking the time to share your words with us, and thank you for the insight and inspiring thoughts that you have shared with us. I'm very grateful. As we come to a close, I wanted to thank again our gold and silver sponsors. The gold sponsors are Ballard Spar, Dorsey and Whitney, Robbins Kaplan, and Stinson. And the silver sponsors are Collins, Buckley, Sauntry, and Haug, Fellhaber, Larson, Maslin, and Taft, Stettinius, and Hollister. Forgive me for tripping on the word. Before we close, we wanted to share 3 videos from Ballard Spahr, Robbins Kaplan, and Stinson about their pro bono programs.
I believe that it's important for us to be heavily engaged in pro bono efforts at Ballard Spahr because we, at a large law firm, sit at a seat of enormous power and privilege, and it's not right for us to keep that power and privilege only for those who can pay top dollar for it.
I enjoy doing pro bono work at Ballard Spahr, particularly because the firm really lets you pursue your passion projects and be creative about causes that are important.
I love doing my pro bono work at Ballard Spahr. It offers me the opportunity to work with great clients.
We've always had a sense that the essence of any profession is to give back to the community.
The stick contains the signatures of those women on the women's national hockey team. 3 of the leaders on the women's national hockey team approached Ballard and asked if we would represent them on a pro bono basis. When I think about pro bono at Ballard, I don't think of it as a separate program. It's very much integrated into the fabric of the firm, who we are as a firm at every level.
One of the things I love about Ballard's program is that there's a position or a role for everybody, no matter what your practice area is.
People come to this firm knowing that our culture is one in which we do insist on giving back. So it's not just me, it's not just any one person. It's the history of the firm and the culture of the firm.
It's something that everybody has the opportunity to do here. As lawyers, we have such a crucial role in society to help other people, and that's a duty we took on when we went to law school. So if you're in an environment where you can do it, you have to do it.
Every time that we represent a client, whether it's a Fortune 500 company or an individual, we really do everything we can and frequently do, in fact, rewrite the odds and make things better for those people. And that same passion, that same dedication, and all that talent that our individual lawyers and staff have, they bring to bear in the community, outside the 4 walls of the law firm, outside the courtroom, outside the litigation arena, when they participate in all these different community organizations and nonprofit organizations, and they give back in their time and their talent and also their treasure. So the time, talent, and treasure trifecta of giving back, our lawyers and our staff really do live that, and it's really heartwarming to see that.
I'm Allison Woodbury, and I'm a partner at Stinson LLP and a co-chair of the Pro Bono Committee. Our pro bono work in 13 offices across the country focuses on a broad range of areas such as human and immigrant rights, direct legal aid to the poor, fair and affordable housing, and neighborhood revitalization. We've signed the Pro Bono Challenge in 1994 and consistently donate between 3 to 5% of our total billable hours to pro bono legal work. This past summer, we signed the law firm Anti-Racism Alliance Charter, pledging to use our pro bono resources to address systemic racism. And we were honored as a beacon of justice by the National Legal Aid and Defenders Association for our pro bono work on behalf of immigrants.
My name's Alok Sharma, and I'm a commercial litigator in Stinson's Minneapolis office. I have a very broad practice. These days, it's been a lot of sports. I currently serve as vice chair of the sports section for the American Bar Association. Sports are great because I'm passionate about sports, but I'm also passionate about pro bono legal services. For the last 27 years, the firm's had a medical and legal partnership with the Community University Healthcare Clinic in the Phillips neighborhood of Minneapolis. This relationship is called the Diner Legal Clinic. As officers of the court, it is incumbent on each and every one of us to ensure that those that do not have resources can still access competent counsel. Over the last 2 years, over 85 Stinson attorneys and paralegals have devoted their time and energy to the Diner Legal Clinic.
Hi, my name is Melita Dugas, and I'm an attorney in the real estate division at Stinson. I'm also a board member with the Minnesota Justice Foundation. I'm proud of Stinson's commitment to pro bono legal work, as well as its partnerships with all of the Minnesota legal nonprofits, MJF included, to provide pro bono legal services to their various constituent groups. Since I started at Stinson, my pro bono legal work has mainly focused on representing children in the foster care system in connection with the Children's Law Center of Minnesota. Stinson's real estate group is also very active in a 5-year community economic development partnership with the Northside Residents Redevelopment Council and Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid. As I can personally attest, MJF's work with law students embeds a pro bono ethic into the Minnesota law students who Stinson hires as associates. On behalf of Stinson, I'd like to thank those at MJF for all that you do for the legal profession and for all Minnesotans.
Thank you again to all of our sponsors. Thank you to Bryce Caldwell, Larry McDonough for sharing their talents with us at the virtual happy hour at the beginning of our event. Thank you to Judge Davis for joining us, and to Ivan Fong for sharing his thoughts at our keynote event, in our keynote address. And thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. I am glad to announce that we have 100% board participation, and I would thank you for considering supporting MJF financially and with your own hours of service in the time ahead. Thank you for joining us, and I very much hope everyone joining us at this event stays healthy and safe in the weeks ahead. Thank you very much.